Today on Encore, South Africa's star choreographer. From Giselle to Swan Lake and the Rite of Spring, Dada Masilo deconstructs the classic ballets to tell a new story, far away from the stereotypical damsel in distress, but of modern-day people that suffer modern-day issues like homophobia, gender inequality and racism. She's performed her creations all over the world, Rome, Montreal, New York and Perth, to name but a few. Dada's work is adored here in France. She's in Paris with her show, The Sacrifice, at La Villette, and I'm delighted to say she joins us here in the studio. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, The Sacrifice is your take on the Rite of Spring.
Yes.
Describe it to us.
So The Sacrifice was really inspired by Stravinsky's score of The Rite of Spring, and I loved and was very intrigued by the discordance of the music and the rhythms. So I wanted to challenge myself to create a work that worked with a lot of rhythm like that. So what I did is I fused contemporary dance with a traditional dance called Swan dance, which is from my heritage, and that deals very much with very complex rhythms as well. So then that's how it started, and I think that because the narrative of The Rite of Spring is so thin, I wanted to create a work where you look at the journey of the maiden. So, you know, it starts...
The maiden is you?
Yes. Yeah, so it starts off with the maiden, and then you see the work through her. You know, and at the end, I didn't want to do, you know, what normally happens in The Rite of Spring, where the maiden dances herself to death, but I wanted to make it more about the mother sacrificing her child and it being about healing, because obviously during the pandemic, you know, people lost a lot of loved ones, and it was very trying times. So then it ended up, that end section ended up being about healing and just taking care, really. Yeah.
And it got a standing ovation at the performance
Yes.
I was at last night. Let's take a look. People I were with, and we found it very refreshing to see a wide variety of bodies, female bodies, on stage. Was that a conscious decision?
It never really is. You know, I mean, I choose to work with people that are passionate mostly. Obviously, you've got to have technique, but I think it's really more about the presence and the passion and what people bring and the different dynamics. So it's not about necessarily the shape or whatever. It's what you bring into the work that is more important to me.
And something I loved was the three live musicians and the wonderful opera singer Anne Messina.
Yes.
It's original music.
Yes.
Why is their role so important to the piece?
I think that, you know, because it's the first time that I'm working with live music, and it was very interesting trying to create a work with a score that was non-existent. So the way in which we worked is that I would choreograph something and then the musicians would react and vice versa. So it was very interesting and very challenging for all of us. But I think that with Anne's voice, I wanted that mother figure, you know, Mother Earth, because the work is also based very much on rituals and, you know, the cultures of South Africa, and the fact that mother figure or Mother Earth is very important, especially in these times that we're living in the world with global warming and everything else that is going on. I think that it's very important to acknowledge Mother Nature. And also for us to acknowledge our ancestors and to be grateful and thank them. Yeah.
Okay, well, we absolutely loved Anne's performance, and let's take a listen. Now, when the original Rite, the Rite of Spring, was shown in Paris for the first time in 1913, it caused a riot.
I know.
And from then on, it really changed music and choreography in the 20th century.
Yeah.
I wondered, with your music and choreography, what do you want to change in the 21st century?
I don't think I want to change anything, but I think that I want to challenge how people see movement and, especially with the fusions and how movement has evolved. I mean, from the Rite of Spring then and to how we're moving now and how you incorporate contemporary dance into pretty much everything. And I think that that's important because it's an education on culture and tradition and rituals. I mean, in this version, in the sacrifice. So it's about sharing with people, okay, this is the kind of movement that is it can be fused because I mean in South Africa we have 11 official languages, so there are so many different dances, so to try and reference them all is difficult, so which is why I chose just Swan dance, but there are, I mean, just little bits of other traditional dances.
And you have been in France over the years with various performances. It's a decade since you came with your famous revisiting of Swan Lake. Now, that has become famous in the dance world, addressing the subjects of AIDS and homophobia. Let's take a look at your version of the 125-year-old ballet. What's it like watching that now?
Wow, it's been such a long time. Yeah.
South Africa is the only African country where same-sex marriage is illegal, although it is still taboo. In most of Africa, homosexuality is illegal completely. And what sort of reception did you get when you tackled taboos like this back home?
I mean, I thought that Swan Lake was definitely going to fall flat on its face because, I mean, who fuses classical ballet and African dance and then tries to discuss homophobia? But strangely enough, I mean, the people really loved it because I wanted the two worlds, the ballet world and the African world, to coexist. And so, you know, I didn't want to leave anybody out. I didn't want to leave the African people out or the classical ballet audiences out. And so when they saw it, it was refreshing for them, because they could sort of laugh at the kind of fusion that was happening, but they also did understand it. So I was very happy about that.
And you do choose stories which involve a strong protagonist woman, usually who are usually victimised and die, like Juliet, Ophelia, Carmen, Odette. Why do these women interest you?
They interest me because I really want to delve more into why this is happening, and a lot of the time it's because it's being dictated by a man, and also they die of madness a lot. So I went through a journey of just trying to find the different kinds of madness, within my body and in my mind as well. But so it has been interesting. But, I got to a point now where I'm going, okay, with Giselle, I said, no, I'm tired of dying now. But yeah, it has been an interesting journey just to try and find out about madness and about what it means and where it stems from and what causes it. And yeah. So.
And your work always celebrates your roots, where you're from in Africa. But the lack of racial diversity in ballet is something that we've been talking about for a really long time.
Yeah.
Do you think things are improving?
I think slowly. I mean, everything is happening slowly. But I think that also, if we don't make such a big thing about it all the time, I think that...
I mean, like people like me asking questions about it?
No, I just think sometimes things happen organically. It doesn't mean just because there aren't a lot of black people in classical ballet that it's an issue. For instance, for me. For example, there aren't any white people in the sacrifice because there aren't any white people in the sacrifice. It was not a conscious decision, So I think sometimes we overthink things, but I think that there is change. Yeah, definitely. I mean, from when I was like 12, this definitely has been a big change.
And you tackle such big subjects in your work. What's next?
Oh, no. I'm not getting into that trap. I think I just really want to carry on developing the sacrifice and seeing where it can go, because it's a relatively new work and it has gone through so many changes from 2 years ago. So I think that I'm just going to focus on that right now and see how it develops.
Living in the moment. Now,
Yes.
we're going to play out with another big dance production in Paris this December, Contact Off from Pina Bausch.
Yeah.
Now, of course, she has been in Paris in the past, her works with the Rite of Spring.
Yes.
I wondered how much did her version influence yours, The Sacrifice?
Quite a bit. I mean, she's my favorite choreographer, or was my favorite choreographer. And when I saw her version, I thought, wow, this is quite amazing. I mean, the movement vocabulary is incredible. Yeah.
Okay, Dada, it's been a real pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. The Sacrifice is on at La Villette until the 10th of December. We're going to leave you with Pina Bausch's Contact Off at Paris's Opera Garnier. That's on until the end of December. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
They're known for their cuisine and saying hello with a kiss. They only work 35 hours per week, when they're not on strike, that is. How true are these clichés about France? Every week, Florence Villeminot tears apart stereotypes. Join us for insight into French culture and current events to understand what makes the French so unique.
French Connections, presented by Florence Villeminot on France 24 and France24.com.